Welcome back. Actually, I forgot to put part two on part two, and it said part one on the video. So when you get to this, you did not skip part two. I did not label part two, but I was not going to do that all over again. So this is part three for Ventures 3. We are in Unit 9, and it is Salvation. If you would please open your student book to page 116. And there's a vocabulary word in there that I hope that people either don't know or are going to learn. And the pronunciation is evacuate. What is it? Evacuate. And what does evacuate mean? Are you going to a place or are you leaving a place? That's right, you are leaving a place. And are you going to do it in a slow and leisurely way, or are you going to do it in a hurry? Yes, you're going to do it in a hurry because usually when you have to evacuate, that means that there's danger, imminent danger, and danger is very close by, and you have to leave. Sometimes people can drive out, and sometimes people need to be evacuated from a situation, and many times that is takes place in a helicopter. So a helicopter will come in and help to evacuate people from a situation, or if it's a flood and people are caught in dangerous high waters, rescue boats will come to help evacuate people from the roofs of their houses or the tops of their houses so that they are not in danger any longer. Here we go to page 116. We're going to use the word evacuate. I want you to notice that we just started talking about the times when you use past continuous and the times when you use the simple past. There will only be a few times in this reading when we will be using the past continuous. Most of the time, it is the simple past. And I want you to realize that and notice it while you're reading. Before we do, there is a little time phrase box down here in the lower right-hand corner. Let's read that first. It says, time phrases show changes in time. For example, a few months ago, several days later, that evening. Okay. Read the newspaper article, listen and read again. Everyone, home is more than a building. And where did this story take place? Which state? Arizona. Which city? Claypool. Claypool or town? Claypool, Arizona. Everyone, a few months ago, Pedro Ramirez, 45, lost his job in a grocery store. Notice, a few months. The first reading, we're going to take this apart, and then in the second reading, we're going to listen and read at the same time, so it will be smooth. I want you to notice, a few months ago, a little introductory time phrase, comma. Pedro Ramirez, comma, 45, comma. So if you are inserting a number into a sentence uh, to clarify and give more information about something already mentioned, you're going to put a comma. Lost, simple past, happened like this. Lost his job in a grocery store. Next, to pay the bills, he got a part-time job at night. Another little introductory phrase. To pay the bills, comma, he got. In the past, simple past. Notice the word part-time. It has a little hyphen between it. Part-time job at night. And, of course, period at the end of a sentence. And capital letter at the beginning of a sentence. Again, several days later, Pedro's wife, Louisa, gave him a big surprise. Another little introductory phrase, comma. Pedro's wife, then they give the name, Louisa, comma before, comma after. It is kind of like 45 describing Pedro Ramirez, giving a little more information, put a comma, then continue on with the main idea of the sentence. Past tense, gave, give, gave. Period at the end of the sentence. Next, she was pregnant with their third child. Was, past tense. Pedro was happy but worried. Was, past tense, worried, past tense. Next, quotation marks. Quotation marks around words that a person is saying. How am I going to support another child without a full-time job? He wondered. Notice, this is a question. Punctuation is a question mark and the end of the quotation marks. Then he wondered, past tense, wonder, wondered. Good. So let's read this together without interruption. A few months ago, Pedro Ramirez, 45, lost his job in a grocery store. To pay the bills, he got a part-time job at night. Several days later, Pedro's wife, Luisa, gave him a big surprise. She was pregnant with their third child. Pedro was happy but worried. How am I going to support another child without a full-time job, he wondered. So that was not a positive thing that happened. One positive, one negative. Next, that evening, notice again a little introductory phrase with a comma. That evening, comma, Pedro and Luisa got some more news. Got, past tense. It's over. A fire was coming near their home. Anything different about this one? Past continuous. Was coming near their home. Past tense. By the next morning, the fire was very close. By another little introductory phrase. By the next morning, comma, the fire was very close. Notice how much more interesting it is when they put in these little phrases, and notice how they give a little more information about what you're talking about. So I would like you to keep that in mind when you are writing a composition, by perhaps introducing a little, now and then introducing a little phrase like this and making sure that you put a comma at the end. Next, the police ordered every family in the neighborhood to evacuate. Ordered, past tense. Evacuate, to move out quickly. Number 2. Next, the Ramirez family moved quickly. Simple, past tense. Next, while Pedro was gathering their legal documents, Luisa grabbed the family photographs and the children put their pets and a cat bird in the family's van. This is a very complicated sentence. So the first part is while Pedro was gathering their legal documents. Past continuous. Gathering is a continuous action. They're telling the story in the past, so it is past continuous. It is the same as what we just did on page 114, a while clause. And it's at the beginning, so they're using a comma. While Pedro was gathering the family photographs. While Pedro was gathering their legal documents. Luisa grabbed, simple past. She grabbed the family photographs. The children put, simple past, just like what we were talking about the page before. Luisa grabbed and the children put their pets. Notice here they did not use a comma, they used a hyphen to tell who the pets are, a cat and a bird. in the family van. So that was quite a lot in one sentence. Next, then the family drove to the home of Louisa's sister 1 hour away. Again, another little introductory word, then, comma. The family drove, simple past, to the home of Louisa's sister 1 hour away. Let's read it without interruption. Everyone? That evening, Pedro and Luisa got some more news. A fire was coming near their home. By the next morning, the fire was very close. The police ordered every family in the neighborhood to evacuate. The Ramirez family moved quickly. While Pedro was gathering their legal documents, Luisa grabbed the family photographs and the children put their pets, a cat and a bird, in the family's van. Then the family drove to the home of Luisa's sister 1 hour away. Okay. Next, about 24 hours later, again, a little introductory phrase giving you more information, making the story much more interesting by giving you this little description, comma, Pedro and Luisa got very bad news. Past tense, simple past, period. Next, the fire destroyed their home. Simple past, fire destroyed. It is not the fire was destroying, it was over. The fire destroyed their home. Next, they lost almost everything. Simple past, lost. Next, with no home, only part-time work, and a baby coming, Pedro was even more worried about the future. What is the main part of this sentence? Pedro was even more worried about the future. Why? With no home, only part-time work, and a baby coming. So they are summing up the information as to why he was very worried. A comma in between all of those, and an and at the end of the list. Okay, so let's read this paragraph again, just all the way through. About 24 hours later, Pedro and Luisa got very bad news. The fire destroyed their home. They lost almost everything. With no home, only part-time work, and a baby coming, Pedro was even more worried about the future. Okay, let's do the next paragraph. For the next 11 months, the Ramirez family stayed with Luisa's sister while workers were rebuilding their home. Little introductory phrase, giving you a little more information, not a complete sentence, just a little phrase. For the next 11 months, comma, the Ramirez family stayed, simple past, stayed, with Luisa's sister while. So now we have this connector, while. This means time was going on. Workers were rebuilding. The rebuilding part takes time. So it's an extended period of time. It's in the past, so it's going to be were and ing because it was past continuous. Luisa's sister while workers were rebuilding their home. Next, many generous people helped them during that difficult time. Simple past, people helped. Next, friends took them shopping for clothes. Simple past, friends took. Next, strangers left gifts at their door. Simple past, strangers left. Next, a group of children collected $500 to buy bicycles for the Ramirez children. Simple past, group collected. But then there's another verb, buy. It's an infinitive. Collected the money to buy. Collected to buy bicycles for the Ramirez family. Okay, let's read this continuously without interruption and be thinking while you're reading it about how they're constructing. Everyone, for the next 11 months, the Ramirez family stayed with Luisa's sister while workers were rebuilding their home. Many generous people helped them during that difficult time. Strangers left gifts at their door. A group of children collected $500 to buy bicycles for the Ramirez family. Last paragraph. Because of all the help from friends and neighbors, the Ramirez family was able to rebuild their lives. Okay, so here's a clause. Because of. Because of what? Because of all the help from friends and neighbors. Actually, that's just a little introductory phrase. The Ramirez family was able to rebuild their lives. There was a comma after that little introductory phrase, too. Next, 2 months after the fire, Louisa mailed out holiday cards with this message: home is more than a building. Home is wherever there is love. 2 months after the fire, a little introductory phrase, there's a comma. Louisa mailed, simple past, ed, Louisa mailed out what? Cards with this message. Notice they are using the punctuation and then putting quotation marks around the message that she put into the holiday cards. And it also begins with a capital letter. Home is more than a building, period. Home is wherever there is love, period. And then the end of the quotation marks. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, and I hope it actually cements in your mind what it is that you need to do when you're trying to decide whether to use the simple past or whether to use the simple past or whether to use the past continuous. Okay, let's keep going. Page 117. Check your understanding. What is the main idea of this news article? So there's actually lots of answers to this question. Overcoming disaster, overcoming adversity, a tragedy that turned out well, neighbors helping each other, family and neighbors helping each other during tragic times. Anybody get any of those? I'm sure you have others. Underline the details that support your answer. Number 2, why did Pedro and Maria move to her sister's home? I hope you're speaking the answer. The idea for my silences is to give you a chance to speak out loud, even to yourself, even though no one's listening. So the main idea as to why Pedro and Maria moved to her sister's home is because fire destroyed their home. Okay, number 3. Name 3 things that changed Pedro and Maria's life. 1, Pedro lost his job. Number 2, yes, Maria got pregnant. Number 4, fire destroyed their home. So that's quite a terrible tragedy. Okay, that's it for today. See you next time.